Hey, welcome back to another episode of It's a Football Thing. As always, I'm your host, RJ, and I'm joined by my two champion and legendary co-hosts, Scott the Gooner and Rob the Red Devil. But equally, we welcome a very special guest into the IFT crew tonight. We have the one and only, very famous Australian sports football journalist and editor, the David Weiner. Thank you very much, David. How are you this evening?
Oh, pleasure, boys. That's all a bit kind of you. Just a football fan joining a few football fans for a bit of a yarn. That's all it is, and very pleased to do so after seeing you guys do all your good work over the last couple of months and years. So thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. Scott, how you going, man?
Yeah, mate, good. Dave is just absolutely oozing humility tonight. Very, very humble, but I'm looking forward to having a chat with you tonight, mate, and hearing about some of your unique insights and some of the experiences you've had. So thanks for joining us. Absolute pleasure.
Robbie?
No problem.
Pleasure. Yeah, mate. I'm recovered a bit from the start of the week, so I'm looking forward to this
Brave
one.
Man night.
Yes, I copped it Tuesday night, so I'm looking forward to the future.
David, just for your benefit, we were actually thinking that Rob was going to be a front runner to replace Ollie at the wheel, but as it stands, as you know, Ollie's still there, and we'll just have to wait a bit longer for Rob to make his debut Premier League manager appearance.
Yeah, well, look, boys, before we kick off, and we know Dave's time might vary a little bit tonight, so we're going to start by speaking to Dave a little bit, but I wanted to acknowledge some of the champions in the live chat. We've got our man Almighty Blues FC. Nice to see you here, my friend. Daniel's here. He's excited with a nice come on Chelsea in there. Those aren't my words there. Daniel's. Ben's here. Good evening, gents. Welcome, Dave. Declared big fan of Australian football and supporter of us, saying he barely recognised you, Dave, with the beard game, and congratulating you on the new job. We'll talk about that.
Should have seen it about 6 hours ago. I decided I'd better start looking respectable in public.
I should have taken your advice, David.
Yeah, me too. Me too, both of them. Oh, boys. All right. Legs Rooney's here. He's calling for Singlet Robbie. And Christopher, welcome, Christopher. We're definitely doing well, mate. Hope you are too. All right. Robbie, you're going to kick off by throwing some of the hard questions at David, right?
Yeah, I think it's only best we start off with, look, just getting your thoughts on what you think of the start of the season, maybe who the front runners or your favourites are for top four for champions, maybe who you think are going to get the drop. We might even throw in a Newcastle takeover in there. Just a bit of your thoughts, mate.
It's been good, hasn't it? And that's been one of the funny. Obviously, it's well known. I finished off at Optus Sport last week. You know, you've picked up a guest, but you basically just got someone employed bloke that wants to talk a bit of football in your show this week. So really grateful for you reaching out. But I think one of the funny things about leaving at this time was I was leaving knowing it was a compelling season. So hard to predict, and even where you look at the drama and you go, everyone was expecting it to be a really tight top four race with Manchester United. You know, Robbie, can't deny the theatre and the narrative and the drama that, you know, Manchester United's form is bringing to the competition right now. And watching the UK press right now, it's I don't want to be disrespectful to you and say it's hilarious, but it's hysterical. It's absolutely, you know, page after page after page, splash after splash after splash of one of the biggest clubs on the planet that you just don't know what their next move's going to be, and you doubt whether it's going to be correct. And for us neutrals, that just makes incredible entertainment. Obviously very different for you when you're living and breathing it as a fan, but it's just part of this incredible soap opera that this season has been. And you've got three teams at the top who are incredible, at an incredible level, with three managers whom I just, you know, I'd almost be prepared to follow them on their own. I think they're just extraordinary humans, protagonists, geniuses, all that kind of stuff. But then there's just a really interesting level of competition throughout. And aside Norwich, who I really feel for Norwich fans, because even coming up, I made them going, I think it'll be better this year because surely they've learned. Like, surely they're not going to be the same as last time, but they're arguably, you know, potentially looser. So them aside, it's a fascinating competition because you've got the likes of Brentford, who are just adding another layer of character to the competition. They've been terrific. And then, Tottenham and Arsenal as well, who they've got their teething problems, they've got their issues, they've got a massive fight on their hands to, we've got your Leicesters and your West Hams are all doing so well, relatively speaking, I should say. But they're interesting works in progress as well. So I think there's a lot to be interested in on all those layers. And then, of course, Newcastle. I mean, you don't want to be the richest club in the world in the Championship. So there's a lot of little fights for them to figure out in the short term before they can even start to dream big. So narratives and ideas and things coming left, right, and centre, isn't it? It's just great to follow.
Yeah, for me, look, David.
I didn't give you a prediction, though. A prediction or anything. I'm not going to tip against Chelsea, so I'm not going to give a prediction.
Just speak honestly, David.
Are you a Chelsea fan? I forgot. I'm pretty sure.
Well, he's giving it away. I'm
too objective in my work. You wouldn't know.
Yeah.
No, look, to me, I think that Manchester United tale has been incredibly interesting. We've got the El Sacico coming up this weekend between Nuno and Ollie. I reckon Ollie's the front runner for that one, but we've also seen, on a side topic, that Barcelona have finally said enough's enough, and there's rumours that they're going to be bringing in Xavi. What do you make of that, David? Do you think he'll do a good job, or do you think it's a case of this young crop of managers coming in, your Artetas, your Ollies, your Patrick Vieiras, who are coming in and maybe just are there on reputation, not managerial expertise?
Yeah, it's a great question, because you look at that. We had that, it was the start of last season where there was a real cohort of the alumni that we probably all grew up. If we look at our vintage, we probably grew up watching them all in their pomp and thought, you'd love to see them step up. But, really, it's been a struggle. Lampard probably the pin-up boy for that. Lampard and Pirlo probably the pin-up boys for that cohort who didn't quite work out. I think the thing with Xavi is slightly different, is that they're at such a low ebb. It probably is one of the moments you could bring someone like them into a club with almost very little to lose right now. So low in expectation, so low in terms of... But can you guys hear me? Because I've just got a little bit of a delay on the vision. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's a little bit... I just had someone in the live chat say there was a little bit of crackling on your end. I don't know if it's a bit of network lag, but no, we can hear you okay at this point. Oh, I think David's frozen up there. We might see if maybe Dave's happy to jump out of the stream and jump back in. I'm not sure if we've lost him there. But boys, while we're waiting for David to come back, what do you make of the Xavi thing, Rob?
Oh, look, we've all seen it. We've all had our club legends there. Again, I had Pirlo at Juventus there last year, and look, he didn't do a bad job, but look, he was really thrown into the deep last year. He just got the 21s job in the next week after he got promoted to the first team. So look, I think Xavi at the moment is in some Saudi Arabia or Qatar or one of those countries over there. He's only on his first year, so he hasn't, again, I think it's the name that Barcelona are looking at. He's a club legend again, because, in a league like that, he hasn't had all the experience in the world yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry about
RJ, your thoughts? No, it's good. It's good to have you back. Good to have you back. It's just a bit of network lag. I think Australian internet, got to love it, right?
I thought you were trying to do a bit of a real-life demonstration of what Barcelona is going through this season with, not quite cohesive network connection and what have you. But maybe that's a bit of an extreme analogy. Look, I agree with you, David, your sentiment about low expectation, low risk for sort of someone like Xavi coming in, but which you would think is so strange, being the powerhouse club that we've all grown up watching and appreciating. But the reality is it's been a massive fall from grace with a certain diminutive little player that has left the club. So it's no surprise that they have collapsed in the way they have. It's just, I do wonder though, even though the expectations would be lower than they would ordinarily, the situation's quite dire for them at the moment, notwithstanding it is still early days in the season. But if they continue to go down this road and we don't get the expected new manager bounce, as we like to throw around, it could get really ugly before it gets better. And with that, would someone as legendary as Xavi still withstand the heat and the pressure that comes with Barcelona being in such an unfamiliar position? But just to suit your broader theme, that it's another compelling narrative in what's been a pretty unprecedented season already.
But I mean, who would you go for if you go for a firefight, so to speak? Remembering as well that Barca, I was even saw that part of the reason that Laporte delayed in sacking Koeman was that they have to pay him out. We know how dire their finances are. I mean, you're not going to go and hire a gun for hire, and most of them are actually employed. You know, Pochettino's obviously, you know, he's walking a tightrope at PSG, but he's been in the gun for hire for the last couple of years. That gets linked to every club. But Allegri's just gone back to Juventus. So, you know, who is the big name that's going to come out and extinguish this for them? And I guess even though Koeman's a club legend himself as a player, Xavi is so synonymous with what made them sort of conquer the world in the last 20 years, with the style that's more similar to Pep Guardiola. So, but the worry is like, we talk about the finances in terms of paying Koeman out. Talk about, imagine the cost of them making their Champions League. I mean,
Exactly.
that's what they got to nip in the bud right now, and they're playing that badly. Obviously, missing Messi is the obvious. There's so many other issues to the way they're playing right now and their identity with young kids. I tell you what, I mean, this is throwing something out of left field. I've got no idea whether this is possible or not. The best person for the job is actually Luis Enrique, who's shown with Spain that he can do it without Messi. But obviously, he's got his hands extremely tied with a massive prospect for the World Cup coming up, with Spain, I think, you know, are on a tremendous path. But ironically, with a lot of the players who are getting blooded at Barcelona. So, you know, if they want someone who can come in and get results, and they know will get results, I think that would be an amazing outcome. But if not, I think they have to go with Xavi. I think they do.
Yeah, look, it seems like a fair shout. And for the people who might be wondering in the live chat, we are going to get to the predictions and look specifically at the Premier League match week coming up. But while we're lucky enough to have a guest like David with us, we thought it would be negligent of us to not ask him some great questions, and particularly about your time at Optus, David. I remember back to the time when the rights changed over, and it was announced that Optus was picking up the Premier League rights. And look, people don't like change, particularly us Aussies. We don't cope well with change. And I remember the outcry and the outburst, and there were some issues at the beginning, but I have to say that the job that was done there by the whole team, these things are obviously a team effort, I think it's second to none in terms of football broadcasting and the content and just the all-round package and entertainment provided. So you've obviously been a pivotal part of that, and I know you're moving on to new challenges now with the A-League that we'll talk about. But just looking back on that time at Optus, I'm sure you'd have many, many proud and fond memories. Are there any that really come straight to the forefront of your mind when you think about your time there? Oh, we've just got no audio coming through at the moment, David. Your audio's not coming through. I don't know if it's on mute. Potentially. Got nothing at the moment. I don't know if maybe you wanted to jump out and jump back in. Perhaps that might kick it off.
1 sec.
Yeah. We'll just bear with him. Just while David's...
Good question, though. It's actually just on that before David's audio does resolve it. So I agree, Scott. When it transitioned to Optus at the time, it was a very weird sort of green fields for us because we didn't know what to expect. But like you said, the whole package now, from not just the 90 minutes, but the mini highlights, the quick highlights, through to the Gegenpress pods that they do, to the documentaries, it's a complete package. So it's been really good.
Absolutely.
Hopefully David's back with us now.
No, it's still no audio. Nothing. I don't know if you could leave the stream and jump back in, David, and that might kick it off.
Yeah, it can happen.
Oh, good. Yeah, sometimes for anyone watching abroad, this is real life as anyone's streaming from Australia, because this is what our internet tends to do. Robbie and RJ and I live 5 minutes from each other, so our internet's Usually pretty consistent. If one's down, we're all down. All right, here we go. David, hopefully we've got you.
Can you hear me
Third
now?
time lucky. Yes.
Yeah,
that's
we've
it.
He's
got
back.
Third time lucky.
I'm gone cold turkey. I'm just talking to the air, okay? No headphones, no nothing.
easy.
I've
Look,
left Optus and they're just shredding all my technological and audio.
hey, you'd think they'd give you a good pair of headphones maybe as a thank you gift for all your hard work.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think you caught me out. Thank you for those kind words. And the guys did an amazing job. I remember exactly where I was when the rights went over because I was sitting at my desk at Fox Sports, thinking, "What is this? What is this?" And we don't like change. And it was an institution at Fox all those years, and we poured our heart and souls into it there. I was obviously much younger at the time, and in the end, it's been an exceptional journey. I leave Optus Sport incredibly proud of what is there now. You mentioned some of those elements to it that make it so much more than just an OTT broadcast and platform of the Premier League. And I know that, I think the service that customers got for the Premier League was, I'm not quite sure what else you could possibly want. Looking at the offering that we get from the Premier League themselves, we had while I was there, a good relationship with the Premier League. And I know that they held up Australia as a real flagship for the way the Premier League was broadcast across the world. And because we had to work so hard for it on two fronts. One, we needed to service customers and acknowledge the fact that so much of it does happen through the night. So how do we service customers in this modern world? But also, things are so much more accessible. You need to make them accessible. There is an expectation that you can get up in the morning and watch it when you want to watch it, how you want to watch it, the length you want to watch it, and if you don't want to watch it, how you can consume it, how you can share it with your mates, how you can read about it, how you can pretend to know about it, what Michael Owen and Tim Sherwood blew a casket saying about it, all these different things. You have to have them all, and we have to work doubly as hard. One, because of the time zone. Two, because of the fact that inherently Australia doesn't service its football customers with the nourishment and the respect and the depth that other sports get. And that's my great passion is wherever I am is to try to provide that level of nourishment. I like that word because I think that's what it is. When you're a rugby league fan or an AFL fan or a cricket fan in Australia, you can get all you need to tick those boxes for what you love about the game. It is harder to access that here. And I know that you can, if you're super, super, super passionate, you're going to jump and do it yourself and jump on BBC, jump on Sky, jump on all the, the mastheads over abroad and have a look at that. But in terms of what you get offered here in Australia, like you think about it, there's not a hell of a lot. And I don't want to go throwing stones at the different entities there. All I can say is that Optus Sport, we concentrate on make sure that the experience for the customer was the best possible thing it could be. And that was a really incredible journey. So to answer your question on, I know a couple of moments that stand out. I mean, one is probably straight after the World Cup, which was, I started 3 weeks before the World Cup, and I was sitting there going, my God, what have I done? But really seeing how hard everyone on the coalface worked in that tournament. In fact, to be honest with you, what I'll say the second proudest moment was the Euros. But a lot of those elements were there in the World Cup. They were just lost on people because of what was going on around it. So we spent 3 years building up our reputation, not only doing those things for the customers that we always wanted to do, but proving on what those in the production team and Optus Sport really truly believe that football fans deserved and the way football should be treated. And so one thing that stands out is the World Cup was difficult. And I inherited a social media platform at that time that was a whipping boy. I mean, it was really, some of the stuff that was being said was brutal and probably fair. And yet we turned that sentiment around just through good work, authentic work, genuine engagement with football fans. And it happened pretty quickly. So that was pretty extraordinary around the, when we got the Champions League at the time. And I think our Champions League coverage was a benchmark. I think it was something to be proud of. Across the board, from the actual broadcast itself to the full box and dice that you got with it. And I think that climax with the Euros. The Euros was very special. Very, 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 very special month. From, what we did on couch, through what the crew did overseas, through to the delivery that the Australian football customer, fan, whatever, whichever way you want to adopt it, got when they woke up at 6 or 7 a.m, all the way through if they wanted to go the the journey with it and go 24 hours a day and be a maniac. It was exhausting, but it was extremely satisfying. And the amazing part for me as well, and I have a full belief in football fans in this country. I'm the biggest advocate, and I just say to organisations, who dares wins? Whoever dares with football will get rewarded. And there was a bit of a conception with the Premier League that we'd exhausted, the audience. If you hadn't, after 3 or 4 years, however many years it was, tuned into Optus Sport for the Premier League, who else was out there? The growth during the Euros was extraordinary. It is held after the Euros, and I think a little bit like the football belongs that Richard Bayless pioneered with the team, showed as well that how many other elements of Australian football there is still to be engaged. And the Euros brought that out. Each community that wasn't necessarily interested in the Premier League got on board, followed their nation. And the whole experience after that was really enriching, really enriching. So, they're probably the two things that stand out overall in a sort of light bulb moment sense. But obviously there's so many different licks of paint of, what we were able to do from as you mentioned, the features to, obviously I spent a lot of my last few years deep in the editorial trenches, trying to build out an editorial section that will live on fully under the stewardship of Jake Rosengarten now, and continue to be a great source for football fans in the country. A vibrant social media platform. You mentioned the podcast earlier. What a joy it was each week to speak to some of my childhood heroes weekly and just riff with them on the football topics. So, I truly hope that, and I think Optus Sport has hopefully set a benchmark now for what everyone in the industry must do. It's a fragmented industry now, which is daunting for the customer, because I understand that that's difficult to consume, but also hopefully it makes everyone lift their standards through competition. I think that's
and I think that's what football deserves in this country as well, David. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do with the domestic league. I want to ask you one more quick question, and then I know RJ's got a couple for you. We've been really privileged on here to work with some great guests. Like, we've worked with Johnny Aloisi on another show we do. We've had Claudio Fabiano on. Claude's, who's an absolute champion. We spoke to Mark Bosnich. We've spoken to some great guests, and obviously you've worked with some amazing people. Michael Bridges, Thomas Sorensen, Schwarzer, Johnny Aloisi. Out of all those guests, or maybe some that I haven't named, are there any moments that really stick out to you, or anyone that maybe you sat and talked with and you thought, wow, I can't believe that I'm working with this person at the moment, or maybe any little stories you quickly wanted to share?
The whole time. No doubt about it. Because I always said that, for me, I always said the moment I lost perspective on what this all was, or the moment that sport or football ever became mature, I'd be gone the next day, because I never want that to happen. And I'm blessed that's I love what I do so much, and I think the nicest thing about all this is they're all good people. They're all characters, different characters. You've got to be a character and a strong-willed character to get to the levels that they got to. It's an interesting dressing room when you put them all together, but they're good people. And you know what? Seeing the way the different professionals adapt to their new profession after their career was fascinating. I'm not going to pick out a favourite of them, because they've all been really good to me. Were there any particular moments? Yeah, there is one. There's one that stands out above all, and it was when I was younger. And it was the 10-year anniversary of the Uruguay games. It would have been 2015. And so way before Optus. And that Uruguay game means a lot to me, because I was there with my old man, I was there with my brother, I was at uni. It was well before I was in the industry, but I had dreams in my eyes, obviously. It was even before I'd really started to take journalism too seriously. And in 2015, I ghosted Johnny's column, the only column he's ever written about that penalty. And talking him through the feedback afterwards, I had hairs in the back of my neck, and for me, it really sunk in the world I was working in, but also that at maybe 20 years ago, I would never got this opportunity. But now, thanks to that moment, I've got this opportunity, and I want to make sure that the industry continues to grow and the sport continues to grow, and the next generation coming through get that opportunity like I did. And that was just a really emotional moment for me, being able to have John trust me with his thoughts. And we obviously, had a strong relationship since then throughout the sport. As the jokes go on off the sport, I am a very terrible putt goalkeeper. And I did have, and so I'm not going to lie, when I was younger, I had Schwartz's brand of gloves. I had Nike goalkeeping gear, all that kind of stuff. So when they used to take the mick out of me about my lack of goalkeeping ability or whatnot, my old man or whatever would always take a bit of a kick out of that. He'd always have a good laugh and message me whenever he'd see that, because it was all very, I guess, what's the right word? It was a great leveler as well, because it was always a nice moment like that. So pinch yourself, mate, all the time, but a real sense of privilege that I get to get entrusted with these guys for their opinions, and hopefully that being able to share their knowledge and be a conduit for their knowledge helps the experience of all you guys and everyone else that wants to learn about football and enjoy football going forward. I'm trying to think if there's any funny. I mean, there's so many stories. There's so many funny stories, but to get all corny, there are a couple of the sentimental ones that rest with me for sure.
No, well said. Well said. You talk about being a student amongst some real educated and been there, done that sort of people to be surrounded by, which is a privilege, using your words. But I think for us, it's equally a privilege to speak to people that have been within the inner sanctum of that and just listening. We're sort of like, you're describing how we're feeling at the moment, so quite interesting. But rewinding the clock back a little bit, when you were a bit younger and you were a spring chicken and you formally educating yourself on the world game. You're a young chicken, it's relatively younger chicken. But I think, Dave, by the way, Mendy's gone to AFCON, so Chelsea could always use a backup keeper. I'm sure you'll make a case for that. But just in terms of a formal education point of view, when you were studying and you became a journalist, at what moment did you think, okay, Australia doesn't do justice to the many fans that follow the world game? At what point did you say, I want to pursue this career-wise and make a real fist of it? Can you sort of give us an insight into yesteryear?
Yeah, sure. And maybe if anyone's listening, this might be the industry's changed a lot, matured a lot since I was coming through, but it might be, I don't know, hopefully it's an interesting backstory for people. It was, I left school and I was this is what I want to do. I knew it. I just loved it too much. But football's a great unknown. And we're talking the start of the A-League, guys. We're talking pre the Uruguay game. There was three newspaper journalists. It wasn't much. I distinctly remember being in a sports journalism class. It was probably, I don't want to say 15 years ago, but maybe it was. And I distinctly remember asking the teacher, and it was around the time that the A-League was starting to boom, and I was like, do you think this sport will ever get taken seriously? Will the likes of me coming through ever get the chance to make a contribution? I actually remember it. And he's a rugby league reporter, the guy that was the teacher. He's like, yeah, but don't count your chickens and don't be too much of a football head. I clearly didn't take that advice, right? Things take mysterious turns in a way, and I was very, very, very lucky. So I was very lucky. I think I'm very lucky that my first entry properly into the industry was with Fox Sports, because they were really at the forefront of digital journalism. I didn't go to a paper, I didn't go to a radio station. I had to learn everything. And I was there when they were just evolving from the papers being the priority into the digital set, into everything. So I had to learn everything really quickly. Nothing I learned at uni was actually relevant. I learned it all on the tools. And at that point, the A-League was starting to really go really well. And I was really lucky that at the time, the national editor of Fox Sports who came in was Tony Harper, a gentleman who some people on Twitter might know. And he wanted to make sure that foxsports.com.au had a football section that did it justice, because he's a football person. So you just need a bit of luck in your life as well. Right place, right time. And the moment he said, I think you need, we need to have a crack at this, I got on the long run and I haven't looked back. So at that point, I didn't know what I was doing. I was in my early to mid-20s. I had no idea what I was doing, but I just applied my passion and my gut instinct to it. 12 years later, or 10 years later, or whatever it is, these are all the accumulated lessons I hope to take and bring to the A-League now. But yeah, the light bulb moment was when I started to see the A-League happening while I was attending it. I was starting to see a window of opportunity and a growing industry or growing, market, growing audience that I thought I want to be a part of. I don't want to be, when you start in the industry, I mean, it's a bit different now, but back then you had to know everything when you started. You had to know a bit about this, a bit about that, a bit about everything. And it didn't feel the same when I was doing a rugby league story or an AFL story or a cricket story. It was very transactional. Whereas we got to do a football story, there was a purpose to it. You knew what you really wanted to do it for a reason. And I guess that kind of sense of purpose has really galvanised me over the last decade or so, culminating in this really, I really can't wait to be part of this new job going forward. It all comes back to the same reasons. To finish that very long with an answer, my very, very, very first opportunity in the media was as a volunteer for an A-League club. So this does feel like a really nice way coming full circle, because when you say, did I know? If you're going to do something for free for a couple of years, you know it's what you want to do. So that was when my eyes went wide open and caught the bug.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I was just thinking, just on wrapping up sort of the insights into your professional career, which is obviously very vast and ever growing, just on the new role. So we rewind it, now we fast forward. The new role, I believe it's, correct me if I'm wrong, head of digital content for the A-Leagues. Feel free to correct me, but can you give us a bit of a blueprint or a mini vision about what that role is going to entail, and just how excited you are for the domestic A-League? For those on the line that don't know what I'm referring to, that's our top tier Australian football competition in the country. So David, some thoughts on the new role?
Yeah, look, I'm super excited, and it would have to be something super exciting to end a chapter at a place like Optus Sport, with the tools at our disposal, with the Premier League and all the fabulous things that the guys are going to still continue to work on and smash it up. All the ingredients are there for them to continue to continue what's been set up over the last few years. And I'll be enjoying this weekend like a punter, sitting back and watching it, and not worrying if I do fall asleep, because I'm not going to fall asleep mid filing something. I can sit back and enjoy it. The new role with A-Leagues, and look, I only start next week, so there's not so much I can say about it. But I was really sold by the vision that I've read about for the last 6 months. Then I obviously got a bit more of an insight too, as it started to become a little bit more serious about the game really wants to take responsibility for its coverage. I've spoken about maybe football not getting the real estate and the mileage that it deserves from a media point of view. And what do you do about that? You don't complain. You get up and you do something about it. And I didn't want to be a backseat driver. I didn't want to say the game needs to grow its heroes. The game needs to create more characters. The game needs to tell its stories. Well, here we go. Let's get involved and let's make sure it gets done. Because I truly believe in the power of football. I've seen the metrics. I've seen the data. I've seen the success. I've seen what works. I've seen it at the two biggest digital platforms at its time since digital platforms have been a thing. And I truly believe in it. So super excited to go over there. They're going to launch in the coming weeks a brand new digital platform. I can't say too much because it's been launched and it's all been very discreet. But it was enough that seduced me. I'm so excited to get stuck in and provide I spoke about competition before. I spoke about options. I spoke about the ability for football fans to consume and get nourished and get stuck into content, and also find it a bit easier to consume football, because at the moment it's not easy. It's not easy. If you can't get all the subscriptions, where do you go if you want to just get a quick fix? Well, I can tell you where you go. Call me back in a couple of weeks' time and I'll probably be able to show you.
We'll give you an update.
Yeah, that's the plan, but with a full responsibility and commitment to Australian football, because it's a really important moment in time. Everyone knows the last few years haven't been great. There have been distractions. The eyes have been taken off the prize. The quality of football is not that bad. I'm really excited for the competition and the season coming up. But it hasn't even been that bad. Well, it's been sort of in the doldrums, so to speak. So I'm really looking forward to telling those stories and working with a great team to bring that forward and make sure that football is owning its path. And I'm super excited for that. There's a great team that's growing over there. And the season's not far away. And there's some there's some great stories to be told. And if we ever needed to see the power of it, haven't we seen it this week?
What a story. What a story.
If that's the power of social media, which is something I'm passionate about in a very strategic sense. I know it's got its pros and cons, but I do think football's got a really great role to play with it. And it's the A-League. It's been the pioneer, an Australian, a 21-year-old Australian who is basically, trying to change the world, one brave pioneer move at a time. Well, that just shows you as well, anyone from the other sports who saw that originally, and there was a few people who went, okay, that's cool, but you got no idea the power of this sport. And I think this showed it. And I was even surprised. I went to bed last night, I'd seen what was going on. I got up this morning and seen who got around it overnight. You can't help but just be so proud to be a part of that community and impressed by Josh's conviction. And yeah, looking forward to being a part of that in the coming weeks and enjoying some live football. That'll be great. Enjoy some live football, going to a couple of games and
Nice.
trying to bring a new experience for the Australian football fan going forward, which the Australian football fan absolutely deserves, and hopefully it all works.
And David, look, RJ and I are MacArthur fans. Robbie's a Western Sydney Wanderers fan, but mate, if you're ever down for a MacArthur game, please let us know. We'll have to get together for a beer. Maybe you can show us some of the ropes, and if you ever need some local Aussie collaborators, mate, we're very happy to work with someone like you. Just putting it out there. Look,
I really hope we get to a point that happens. I mean, Roma wasn't built in a day. Optus Sport wasn't built in a day. Stan wasn't built in a day. 10's not going to be built in a day. Fox Sports wasn't built in a day. This won't. But I want to engage fans. And I'm talking about our term. I haven't started it yet. But I want to get that community built. I really, really do. And we'll see how we go. And it'll take time. But it's not a ridiculous throwaway line. I think there's so many passionate people out there that it'll be great to engage everyone.
Dave, before we move on to the Premier League matches, and I know you said you may need to leave us a little bit earlier. If you do, just let us know. I just wanted to ask you this question that's come from one of our listeners. He says, do you feel that the quality of the league would be better if it was moved into winter? And do you think it might help with a more global audience as well?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? It's a fantastic question. I know a lot of the legends that we had on Off the Sport last year were adamant that it had to align with the other competitions in Australia here. It didn't quite work out as such for a number of reasons. I think we saw in the patched up season, the quality was great. The temperature, the speed of passing, all that kind of stuff. It was great. And I don't think there's any doubt about that. There's no doubt about it. I think we will make the best of the season structure that we have now. And I'm not as alarmed by it because I see the alignment with the Premier League. I do see the clean air. Every Saturday night on Channel 10, there's going to be a game. I know it's idealistic. The best pure football answer is for it to be when everyone's playing. No doubt about that. And I'm not saying there isn't for people in summers to stay away from rugby league or stay away from AFL. I firmly believe that the quality will stand up on its own. I do believe that. But I'm also not crying hysterically that it is when it is now, because I love the idea as a fan of spending your summer nights or your late afternoons going to an A-League game. I had fantastic experiences growing up doing that. So, it would be better. Yeah, it would be better from a pure footballing point of view. But I think whatever it is, we have to make the most of whenever we land. And we've got a fantastic, opportunity on Channel 10. Really a fantastic opportunity. We've already seen with the Matildas ratings the other night. I mean, there was 200,000 people watching the post-game show, for goodness sake. So, we've got to buy into that and make the most of it.
Absolutely great answer. Look, we are going to move into some really quick Premier League predictions because obviously we've got an intense tipping comp going on here that RJ is very clearly in the lead of. I'm in last place trying to come back. But let's quickly open up. And remember, David, like I said, if you need to jump out, just let us know in the private chat and we can go from there. My boys are opening Leicester are hosting Arsenal. I was very confident on Tuesday night show. Some may say it was borderline arrogance or cockiness. This is the life of an Arsenal fan. We highs and lows. But for some reason, I can't shake this feeling that we're going to do this with some comfort. I believe we'll beat Leicester. We're looking good at the moment. The squad is pretty much completely fit. We don't have any COVID concerns. We don't have any players missing. There's no bad news about us in the media. So I actually think we're going to take this one 2-1. I do feel like Jamie Vardy will hit us. He tends to score. But with Lacazette spearheading the attack, we're looking like we're bringing the best out of players like Aubameyang, Saka, Smith-Rowe. So if Lacazette starts up top, I'm very confident and I'm going for a 2-1 win to the mighty Gunners. What about you, Robbie?
Look, I'll be quick on this one. I think this game historically has always goals in it, so I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. And you guys have got to watch out for Tillemans, mate. He's been smacking some rockets in that top corner. So, yeah, 2-2 for me.
What about you, David?
Yeah, maybe high-scoring Arsenal win, perhaps. Leicester are a mixed bag this year, aren't they? Obviously, some great results. It really depends on what the style of the game is, doesn't it? And how both managers set it out from the start. But Arsenal are a funny one because I think, start of the season with Arteta, he was that close to probably being, untenable, but really just needed to get the cattle back, get all those distractions away. The kids are good. So, I mean, if you can just navigate through this period, I think maybe, things might start to pop out. You like Lacazette a lot. It's an interesting one because I just find for a player of his status, I've always just found his role at Arsenal a little bit puzzling, but it seems like he's got a key role to play now, right?
Yeah, I think he does. And Robbie and I have been at loggerheads about Lacazette ever since he signed. Rob's been adamant that he is the absolute answer for Arsenal, and I've had many moments of doubt. But I think under these structures, with Arteta's system at present, we need someone up there that can hold the ball up, and that's not Aubameyang's game. It's not really even Lacazette's game, but he does tend to do it better than anyone else we've got in the squad. So under this structure, I think he's the man to lead the line, and he'll strengthen Aubameyang. So, yeah, that's why I'm feeling confident. What about you, RJ? You tipping an Arsenal win, mate?
Man, someone's got to provide some balance and realism onto the show, my friend. Look, you guys have been improved form. Let's call it how it is. And I agree with David. Leicester's been very much a bell curve. They've been sort of up and down, and they've gone through all the cycles. But they're still a good team at heart for me, and I think they will take some confidence from the Carabao Cup victory. I think that will count for something. I know it's different competitions and we're not comparable, but it will give them that extra bit of belief. And if they can just shore up those defensive mishaps at the back, I think they'll do enough to walk away with this being at the King Power. And I think they will take this one 2-1. I know it's mobbing my hate for Arsenal a little bit coming into the fore, but I do like Brendan Rodgers, and I think they will get it done in the end.
Okay, there we go. For those who are in here, please don't forget to hit the like button. If you're new, please make sure you subscribe as well. We're trying to grow this thing from the ground up. Welcome, Emad. Jumping in and throwing shade at Arsenal straight away, mate. You'll fit right in here. Welcome to It's a Football Thing. Let's look at the next one. I'm sure this will be quick. Burnley hosting Brentford. RJ, your thoughts very quickly.
Yeah, very quickly, mate. Look, I've been very impressed with what Brentford have been doing lately, and Burnley have been picking up their game slightly, but I still think on the balance of play, really impressed with the Bees and Thomas Frank, and I reckon they will just win the arm wrestle here, and I'll go with a 2-1 to the Bees.
David, your thoughts?
It's a funny one. Sometimes these games are actually the harder ones for teams like Brentford on a roller coaster fairy tale. I think Burnley can get the win. And I will. My favourite line from the Gegenpressing, my favourite line is Bridgie. He give him a lot of stick for it, and he says, "If Burnley were playing in my front yard, I still wouldn't pay to watch them." And we give it to Burnley
so good
every time they win. It's harsh. It's harsh. I think Burnley Brentford are a fantastic ride, but I think it's a good test. Burnley, I think I'll tip Burnley.
Wow, Robbie.
Yeah, I'll go quick, mate. I think 2-1 to Brentford also. I've liked them since the start of the season. Burnley, they're getting a bit of pressure. They're pretty down the bottom there, so they do need a result. But Brentford are flying at the moment. Another good result for them this morning as well, so I think they'll be on a high.
Look, for me, to be frank and pardon the pun, I think Brentford will have too much for Burnley, so I'm going with Brentford 2-0. Moving on to the next one, a team that is in red-hot form, Liverpool, dismantled Ollie's United, have been banging in goals for fun. Surely it's easy business for them against Brighton. I can't see anything other than Liverpool winning this. I'm going with 3-1 to the Reds. I was about to say Brendan Rodgers' Reds. That was a long time ago. David, what do you think? Liverpool for this?
Yeah, and that's paying respect to how good Brighton have been this season, but Liverpool sensational. Hate to say it, they're sensational. And I can't see any. I'll probably go very similar scoreline to you, probably to 0. I think they're just in red hot form. They're going to be striking while it's hot until the African Cup of Nations comes around, and that throws a bit of a spanner in the works. But right now, I hate to say it, I sit back and I'm trying to, sometimes in sport, you just got to savor something that you're seeing, even if they're not your team, and that's it, Salah right now. But we're watching something very special.
Yeah. What about you, Robbie?
Yeah, 3-0 Liverpool, mate. I'm gonna lock it in. Captain Salah again.
Salah.
He's back on. I took him off against us last week, thinking it'll be a tight game, but that backfired. But yeah, he'll be back on with the armband in my fantasy. Yes, 3-0 to the Reds.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm going to agree on all fronts there. It's just, and especially Brighton, they're a pretty ambitious sort of team, and I actually like what Graham Potter's doing with that squad. I do believe he's overachieving with the cohort, but yeah, Liverpool are just a team you don't want to play at the moment. I'm kind of glad we played them when we did and held them, but they're relentless at the moment, and I feel sorry for anyone in their way. So yeah, I'll lock in a 3-0 as well.
All right, jumping over to the next one, Man City versus my man Patrick Vieira's Crystal Palace. Will the Eagles fly high, or is this just business as usual for Man City, Rob?
Yeah, look, I think, again, this is a game City have to continue to get all 3 points with. Just, they have to keep with Liverpool, and they've got to keep with Chelsea as well. Anything at home, but the 3 points I don't think will be enough for them. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to the Citizens.
Yeah, for me, I don't see anything other than 3 points to City. I'm going with 2-0 to City. What about you, RJ?
Yeah, I've been talking up Palace ever since they had a couple of bad games to start the season, especially really impressed with Conor Gallagher and what he's been doing with them. But City is such a team, on their day, they would blow anyone apart. I feel that. But they have had instances where teams contain them and they do a good job in just frustrating them. But I think they will bounce back after this morning's very disappointing result. And poor Palace, it's going to be citizen pain for them, I reckon. So I reckon we'll lock in a 3-0. I'll go 3-0 to City.
What about you, David?
I mean, Vieira's done a great job with Palace, but this is one of those games where you just go, is the score depends on what mood City are in, how much they want it. I think 3 is a good shout. It's big upset areas if Palace get anything from this game.
Absolutely. But you know what? In saying that, we're all pretty confident that City will take the points. But I wouldn't be like Liverpool 5-0 at Man United shocked if Crystal Palace snatched a point. They have shown some resilience at times, but Man City.
That's one of the great pieces of context you'll ever hear. I won't be shocked if Crystal Palace beat City as shocked like Liverpool and United.
Boys, we've had that. That's in the past.
Who was shocked about that? We saw that coming. It's obvious.
That's the most subtle put down I've ever heard. That's great.
David, look, I'm a teacher, mate. But if you need me over there on your A-League team, just hit me up. I'm happy to come over. There's plenty more where that came from. But let's jump over to, we've got El Sacico and we've got not the El Clasico, but a new El Clasico in Newcastle and Chelsea. RJ, these are your boys, so it's only natural that you start us off.
And why wouldn't we? Top of the league, we're firing. We got through in our penalty shootout the other day just for a bit of fun to give Kepa some confidence-boosting minutes. And look, for me, what I will say is that we don't know who's going to be available in terms of up front, and there's a couple of question marks. So there is some doubts, injury doubts with Cesar Azpilicueta. We've got Timo Werner, obviously, Romelu Lukaku. N'Golo Kante should be back. But with the players that we have been using, the back three have been like an impenetrable force. With Super Spider-Man Mendy in goal, I find it really difficult to see how Newcastle is going to penetrate us, to be honest with you. And with that in mind, Kovacic, Jorginho, Mason Mount, the hat-trick hero, I think that we should take this one, even though St. James's Park has always been notoriously a bit of a banana skin for us. Ben, I'm not that confident, mate, but I'll happily take half of that or the nearest rounded number downwards, and I'll lock in. I think it'll be difficult just because Newcastle will be stubborn. I'll lock in 2-0.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I was going to go 2-0 on that one as well.
Yeah, look, for me, I don't see anything other than a Chelsea win. I'm assuming Havertz will play the false nine. I actually think he's quite efficient there, and Mason Mount finding his scoring boots should help. Look, I'm seeing it being convincing. I'm going with Chelsea 3-0, not quite 7-0, but 3-0 to Chelsea. What about you, David?
The only thing is St James's Park is actually Chelsea have had some troubles there in the last decade or so. And the other thing is that like you see the Norwich game and it's just not fair. You give Chelsea that kind of and those stars feast, but actually there have been a few little teething problems for Thomas Tuchel to sort out, particularly the amount of players at his disposal. We've seen him bring a heap of the fringe players in as well. I think 2-0 rather than a cavalier score is right. I think there might be periods of the time where Chelsea have to find answers. And if Newcastle is stubborn defensively, but I think at the end it'll be too much quality.
You know what's funny as well, just adding to that, David, you're probably very familiar with the diversity of goal scorers. So I know on one hand it's good not to put all your eggs in the Romelu Lukaku basket, but for us, I've been so surprised just how wide varied our goal scorer base is. And to be honest with you, I say 2-0, and I wouldn't be surprised if our goal scorers are Chilwell and Reece James, to be honest, because they've been in blue hot form, if you want to call it that.
Man, look, Thomas Tuchel's getting a rise out of his squad, and this is a squad game. So you need all players on that pitch to chip in, and defenders chipping in with goals can be very handy. So it's been a little bit of a theme for Chelsea recently. So perhaps it may continue. Let's look at Watford, who are hosting Southampton. I really can't make my mind up on this one, so I'm hoping you boys will let me go last. I might listen to the wise words of David to make my decision. So, David, you want to kick us off, mate?
Can you honestly predict with any authority what Watford are going to do?
Yeah, I know.
For 80 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, it's like 5-0 Liverpool loss. Last week, they come out and scored 3 or 4 in 10 minutes, so who knows?
Unbelievable. But if there's ever a time for them to ride their momentum, it's now. And this is a good matchup for them. This is a good matchup for them. So at home, time for Ranieri to work his magic. Look, this is an important one for them. But no, maybe a draw. I've changed my mind. I've talked myself out of it. So there you go.
Draw. What about you, Rob?
2-2.
I'm going to go for a
2-2.
I'm going to go for a ball draw in this one. I agree with the draw, but I don't know. I just think they're going to cancel each other out maybe in this one. 0-0 for me.
RJ?
Yeah, it's actually almost an early season 6-pointer given where they are on the ladder, and both teams will be putting this one on a diary as a winnable fixture. Watford, they did show us some class in that last 10 minutes, but I actually put that more down to an Everton collapse more so than Watford being unbelievable in that period, but you still got to score the goals. Southampton, I think they've been underwhelming results-wise, but performance-wise, they haven't been as bad as what their position suggests. And I think that they will. I reckon they're going to come away with this one, and I reckon I'll take it 2-1 in the end. So, yeah, we'll see. That could be my wild guess of the week.
I'm going with Robbie on this one. I'm going with the board draw. So definitely the board draw. I know that David's got to leave us in a couple of minutes, but I can't let you leave without you giving your thoughts on El Sacico. Although I say it tongue in cheek because let's face it, Nuno isn't anywhere near the sack, but Ollie certainly is. This is actually probably the showcase match of this round. I know you're leaving soon, David, so if you want to start that off, we'd love to know your views.
It's fascinating, isn't it? I mean this all politely because I know there's so many Manchester United fans, but someone ran past me the other day and go, "What do you make of United?" I think it was one of I can't remember which loss it was.
Gee, the bullets are coming at me hard tonight, man. I thought it was all done with on Tuesday.
Nah, it's just it's extraordinary the situation United find themselves in, and I don't think Ollie will get the sack this game. But I think if this game doesn't go to plan, I don't know how the board have any other choice. It's like they did in the end with the other coaches that went before them. You get to a point where you just have no choice. This is super must win, particularly given that they've had such a good away record over the last year. And you would imagine if there's any opportunity at a ground to try and go away from home and do what United have done well when they've been in a crisis in the last 3 years under Ollie, been under pressure, have those moments where they can strike on the break and deliver with that individual brilliance. But they're up against Nuno. Nuno's not going to want the ball either. So what's going to happen? Is Ronaldo going to just stand in the centre circle with Harry Kane? They're going to just look at each other for the whole game? It's going to be fascinating who takes the initiative. What happens? We're going to do a whole 90 minutes, and there are many people that are on the things that Solskjaer has to fix. Can he fix that by the weekend? Like, the pressure on this match is just enormous. I don't know. What confidence can you have that they're going to pull it out? Do you have any confidence?
Look, I actually think we've hit rock bottom from the Liverpool game. Ollie knows that he's pretty much got 3 games reportedly to save his job. Look, I've already come to peace with. I think a change is definitely needed, but I think we're actually going to come out and get a 3-1 win in this. I think Spurs are in transition season, so I don't see them. It takes for them to go pretty crazily bad for them to axe someone. So I can see them giving Nuno time, and like I said, with all the dramas they've had with Harry Kane and everything like that. Look, I just think that he might actually let the shackles off this week, and he's got to go outscore him because our clean sheet record has been terrible. So we just need to go out there. I could see big wholesale changes. He has to. A lot of players that are out of form could be rotated, and he's just got to go out and say, "Mate, save me my job at the moment." So I'm going to go 3-1 for United this week.
Any fears what happens the other way if he go out and play? Because that's been the whole problem was defensively. United have been. He's got
to do something. He can't sit there and play with 6 defensive players again with McFred in the midfield and sit back and take a 1 or 2 or 3-0 loss again. Because then I don't think he'll make it to the international break. He's got to go out and have a go now.
So interesting.
Interesting. Robbie's calling 3-1. David, what was your prediction again before we let you go?
I wasn't sure. Like, did you think, Rob, going into the Liverpool game, did you think that was one of the games that might have been, in theory, tailor-made for United to cause an upset?
I caught a draw, like I said, just from recent history. I thought Ollie would have played it a lot. Well, I thought he was going to play safe, knowing his job was under that much pressure and on the line. I thought it would have been a 0-0 draw, a 1-1 draw. I did not see. No one seen that coming.
No one saw 5, but maybe except for Scholes. But
yeah, well, that's it.
Because I asked that question because in theory, every time United have been in a crisis under Solskjaer, this is the game where they come out and get that 3-run result, no matter how or what it takes. I don't know that. I think things are so low at the moment. I can't predict that with any confidence.
Yeah, it's not reliable, is it?
I haven't got confidence either, but we've got nothing to lose.
There's too much stress in this game. There's too much stress in this game. But Spurs were insipid. Last week, their team's not bad on paper. they've got the ingredients. It's just a little bit up here and tactically with Spurs. I'm going to go 1-1, but with very little confidence because there's just so many intangibles to this game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You want to do your thing before you and I have predictions?
Yeah, David. Look, we've had the privilege of having you on for an hour. We've had our ups and downs. We've heard the stories. You've inspired us. You've given the crowd more bang for their buck than what they came in to see us three hooligans talking football. But we just want to give our heart-warm thank you, mate, for coming on, and we wish you all the best with your new role at the A-Leagues there. And we know you're going to continue to give the Australian people what they deserve, which is an enriched, nourishment footballing experience. So thanks again.
Oh, boys, no, not a problem at all. Keep up the good work. Keep enjoying it, and we'll be in touch. All the best. Thanks for having a chat with me.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night, guys. Night, everyone. Cheers.
Yeah, just what an experience that was. But just to keep the momentum flowing, we've got United Spurs. For me, look, I heard you both arguments, very compelling. What I will say is, how often do you hear and see a high-octane clash on paper fizzle out into being a very incredibly dull ball draw? I actually think that's exactly what's going to happen in this game. They're going to be super conservative. I hear what you're saying, Rob, that Ollie can't afford another insipid performance, as David would like to say, but I just reckon they're both naturally conservative at heart, and it'll either be 0-0 or 1-1, and I'm actually going to lock in the latter. So I'm going to take a 1-1 draw for me, which is good for us.
Yeah, look, I've got to agree with you. I see a goal for Ronaldo. I see a goal for Harry Kane. I know Tom's joined us, and he's saying Varane will be back. Look, if you'd have said Ben White will be back and will be a boost, and you guys had assigned a quality defender like Ben White, I probably would have agreed that it's a boost. But Tom, I don't know if Varane's enough to save you guys, man, to be completely honest. Not under
four-time Champions League winner, but anyway.
Mate, look, Ben White.
He was marking the referee the other day.
What was that?
Varane. I saw an image of him marking the referee the other day, and the people were bagging him out saying he's lost it.
He hasn't played for 2 weeks, mate. What are you going on about?
You know what's funny? We're on 399 subs at this point, boys. I'm trying. I feel like we need Emad. I don't know if he's clicked that button, but Emad, become our 400th sub, mate. You'll get plenty of this.
You've got no hope, mate. He's a United fan, and after
I'm just creating a burner account.
Mate, if you get it, go.
We're just talking nonsense. Sorry. Let's go with this one. Robbie, very quickly, who takes this and why?
Leeds, mate. Norwich is terrible, mate. I told you they're not going to get. I still think they're going to get that record for the lowest points ever in the whole season. So it's got to be Leeds 3-0 for this one.
RJ.
Yeah, and I expect Norwich. They're in big trouble at the moment. They were hopeless, and I'm going to say Leeds will take them out. I think it'll be 3. I'll go 3-1 because I still don't trust Leeds' defense.
Emad's already subscribed. He's a good man. We love you, Emad. You're a good fella. This is probably why I'm at the bottom of the ladder for this, because sometimes I underthink my predictions. For some reason, and I'm lucky Davide's not here, I just see them getting a point. I see this being a 1-1 draw. Don't ask me why, but I'm going for 1-1 draw. Don't ask me why, because David is not here, so I'm not going to explain it. Yeah, no,
We'll take it.
Mate, it's purely a gut feeling. There is no logic behind this one. I wish there was. The logic is that I'm in last place on the tip, so this is probably why. 2 more to go, boys, and I actually think low-key this one may give us a more quality match than the Spurs United. And I'm not actually throwing shade. I mean, like you said, RJ, sometimes those clashes can fizzle out. But I don't see this one fizzling out. These are 2 teams that are really going to want to go for it and build their credentials as European challengers. I'm going to ask to go last on this because I haven't really made my mind up yet. What do you think, RJ?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this game for some reason. I think it's just because I've got a respect for both managers, and I know Aston Villa's going through a bit of a lull at the moment. I'm very conscious of that. But we all know, g'day Dan, love you, mate, and check out Dan's new podcast, by the way. It's Ish podcast with
Yeesh.
Dan
That was very
and
good.
two other mates, similar to us in the sense that we're Chelsea, United, Arsenal, but they're talking Premier League like us, but they're putting their own South African spin on it. So go check them out. I'm sure, Dan, you can pop the link into the chat or whatever, and people can follow you or go follow them on Twitter. But just for Aston Villa, West Ham, quickly, a couple of weeks ago, we're complimenting, and I was one of them, how good Aston Villa have been. And Dean Smith has been doing a really good job in getting them to be really attacking and not lost too much without Jack Grealish. But something's slowed down a little bit on their end, which is to be expected. And West Ham have picked up their game, being in reverse order. So with that in mind, given the momentum that West Ham have started to gather again, and Villa, pretty disappointing performance against Arsenal, to be fair, I think they're going to do just enough to walk away with a very, very big win from their end. And I'm going to lock in a 2-1 to the Hammers. So not convinced, but I feel like it on gut feel.
Hey, before you give your prediction, Rob, I just want to... I've spoken about EMAT a lot tonight, but I want to shout out probably one of my favourite comments that I've seen over our last couple of months. If I wasn't here, I'd have to have conversations with the wife. EMAT, I love it. I love it. Why do you think us boys started the podcast? It gives us 2 nights a week. We get maybe an hour where we can talk some sport. I don't have to watch The Block, which is really good for me. But top comment there. And this is Dan's Twitter handle for the pod. Honestly, check it out. These boys are good, and Dan's got so much knowledge. Check that out. Follow them as well. It's not easy making fresh content every week. So give these boys a follow too. Robbie, your prediction.
Look, I just think boys are boys, mate. They're riding a wave at the moment. They're just everyone. Last year, a lot of people were saying, they're going to hang around. I think you're one of them, Borgie. They stayed in that European spot. They're doing great in Europe at the moment, mate. They're knocked out 4 times in a row, league champions this morning. They're just beaming at the moment. So look, I think nothing but a West Ham win here. I'm going to go for a 3-1.
Wow, convincing.
Nice.
I'm going a 1-1 draw here. I think Villa will be burning from the result against us, and they'll want to bounce back. And I don't know. It reminded me a bit of the Leicester season, where I just keep thinking that West Ham eventually are going to have a few bad results on the trot and drop right out of there. But it's not happening at the moment. So massive credit to their squad and David Moyes for getting the best out of them. But I see a draw here. I see the points being split. Last one for this round. I'm hoping I haven't missed any. Wolves hosting Everton. To me, I actually think this one will be close, but I'm leaning more towards the Blues, but not by much. I'm going with Everton 1-0.
For me, I don't know. I hear what you're saying. They're going to want to bounce back. That was a very, very poor 10, 15-minute display, and they completely capitulated against Watford the other day. There's no excuses for that. So we fully expect a response. And with someone like Benitez, if not for anything, he is a student of the game. He's been there, done that. And I think you won't see the same mistake twice. So I expect him defensively to be more sound. But Wolves at home, they've been one of the teams that I've been quietly impressed, and they've been doing pretty well. So with that backdrop, I actually think it's going to be super tight, like you said, Scott, but rather than 1-0 to Everton, I think it's actually going to be 1-1. I've just got a feeling 1-1. Richarlison maybe for Everton, I don't know.
Yeah, look, I agree. I feel like we've played Wolves at Molineux about 4 million times in the past 2 seasons. Always very hard to go to, and I sit on the fence. I'm going for a 1-1 draw as well in this one.
All right, boys, we have had a big hour and 10 minutes. We've covered a lot.
That was quick.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun. Just a couple of points I wanted to make towards the end. I will be doing an Arsenal show on the 31st of October. So that'll be on the Sunday. The time and stuff will be announced. I'll be having Lottie on to join me on the panel. Some of you would know Lottie from the live chat. And we'll also be joined by journalist James Rowe, who's currently based in the Netherlands, but he's done work with TalkSport, with a few newspapers as well. So he'll be giving his insights, and we'll just be talking Arsenal for that show. Feel free to jump in, throw some banter, or share it with an Arsenal friend. So looking forward to that. Details will come out on our social media. I also wanted to plug, and I'm not sure if, I don't think it's in the description this week, but I will put it there. I know RJ's been doing some fundraising. RJ, maybe quickly just tell everyone about that before we wrap up, hey?
Sure. So just very quickly for those listening, very kind. For me, doing a mental wellbeing fundraiser campaign. So essentially I have to walk with a 10 kilogram vest for 50 kilometers throughout the month of October. As at today, I'm on 126 kilometers and I've raised just over $2,000. So thanks to all those who've gotten involved and just sent me well wishes, etc. So yeah, thank you very much and continue to look after yourself, and hopefully football is one of the treatment plans for you.
That's it. Hey, any closing words from you, Robbie?
As always, guys, be safe and be good or be good at it, as I like to say. Enjoy the football, and I'll see you on Tuesday night, hopefully after we get some points on the board.
Oh, we can only hope you don't. It'll be a cracker on Tuesday. We will see you on Tuesday. Please, on your way out, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Come back tomorrow when the video is fully uploaded and streaming, and leave a comment. We have noticed that on YouTube, when you come back and watch this, it doesn't necessarily stream properly till about 24 hours after. I'm not sure why. I'm trying to work with YouTube on that. But please come back, leave a comment, leave a thumbs up, because it just helps to get the video seen, and we greatly appreciate it. Boys, been a cracker. Let's enjoy some football over the weekend and get back and talk about it on Tuesday night.
Take care, guys.
Take it easy.